Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for your Chelsea versus Bournemouth preview. There is an absolute abundance of information to get through. So we're going to be going from team news. We're going to be talking tactics. Maresca's gone into the press conference and give us detailed answers on why certain players are selected and not selected for certain systems. And also we'll be discussing transfers because Dortmund are pursuing two of our players currently. A lot to get into and everything in between. We're going to start with the injuries and get them out the way early. Lavia and Reece James, we saw in that cup game against Morecambe play 45 minutes apiece. Absolutely elated, ecstatic that these two are now available to sit on the bench against Bournemouth and add defensive reinforcements in second halves, because we've been tailing off, we've been dropping off, we've been absolutely horrendous at keeping the energy levels and the technical levels high, and it's been costing us. Even before the poor run, we were conceding late goals. So these two are trusted by the manager, they're counted upon, and they should be coming onto the pitch. We know certain players are not trusted, we'll get into that, but these two certainly are. So fantastic that they're available. We need to keep them available. They need to stay fit. Madueke's back, right? He's back. An option for the right wing. Will he start? We'll talk about it, but he's an option at least. We need that. Neto, not really consistent in terms of his level. We need options. And then obviously Mudryk sample B, still no results, so still unavailable. No way Chilwell is involved. The manager keeps reiterating that he is just available for transfer. He just needs to leave. He will not be playing any part, even with the Renato Veiga rumours that I'm going to address. And the centre-backs are out in Badiashile, Fofana as per. Now for Bournemouth, Evan Nilsson's out. But that's not it. Kepa can't play because we loaned him to Bournemouth. That is on top of not having Ryan Chrissy or, Adam Smith or Sinistra. There's so many players out on this list. It's insane. So Bournemouth, and they can still pick a good team. They've got quality depth, really, when you think about it. There's some really highly rated and regarded centre-backs and left-back in their team, and probably everybody's going to be watching those guys, but hopefully they don't play brilliantly against us because we need that win. We haven't won in 4 in the Premier League. They are 7th. They are unbeaten in 9. They are in really good form. We need to respond and we need a win. There's no other outcome that can come from this game but 3 points. So without further ado, let's get straight into what has been going on transfer-wise before we get to the tactical pad. Carney Chukwuemeka, let's get the easy one out the way. He's available, right? He's clearly not used or played often this season. Even in Conference League, he's been coming off the bench at times. He's just not considered important. However, his price tag and valuation at the start of this window did not mirror and reflect the lack of importance. £40 million sterling was the asking price. I said, you knew we were never going to get that. You don't get double what you paid for someone you haven't played, you haven't developed, you haven't kicked on. You don't value or rate or want. So that price was always going to have to come down. Similar to Armando Broja when we asked for a silly fee, we didn't get it. He's on loan at Everton. So now we're in a predicament where the price has dropped to high 20s, low 30s. Dortmund's coming with a loan. This would increase his valuation over the course of the rest of the season for the next 6 months if he was to play, if he was to perform, and then maybe we could look for a good figure in the summer. The 1% chance that he does brilliantly at Dortmund and we actually want to keep him and use the talent that we have, because I think there's a talented player in there, has been unlucky with injuries, but the base level talent is clearly there. That is up for discussion. We will see if that happens, but hopefully he gets the loan because we don't use him. We clearly don't rate him that highly, so we need to move him on. I don't want to see him sitting on the back of the bench, not even on the bench, but behind the bench for the rest of the season. I want to see talented players play. It's a football game at the end of the day. So hopefully he leaves to Dortmund and let's see if that materializes. Also, Dortmund want Renato Veiga. Now this one is interesting because he's agreed personal terms with Dortmund. They haven't agreed a fee with us. We are not interested in loaning his clot one bit. Sideshow Bob, pro clubs, FIFA looking ass player, has come through 6 months, in a 6-month spell, has decided that he is bigger and better than this now. He wants to move on for regular game time because he wants to secure his Portuguese national team place. Brother, this is the one time I'm not blaming the directors in regards to this individual, because when we signed him for the modest fee of 14 million from Basel, a pretty unknown player in the international stage, I thought, okay, I'm not happy with Lewis Hall leaving whatsoever. And you can see why. Ian Matson's gone. Fair enough. We needed a bit of physicality and height. But we're bringing in a player that profile-wise, I don't know him, but he looks like he can do a solid second choice job. Positionally versatile, back three, left back inverted. These are the positions that Maresca wants to play with and use. Central midfield, these are the areas he's occupied, couple of positions. Even Maresca in the presser was saying, yo, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be playing for the Portuguese national team. So slow down there, buddy. Slow down there, honey. You're getting a bit too excited, a bit too ahead of yourself. So I'm a little bit gobsmacked that he wants to leave 6 months in, because the passion and desire and the shithousery and the bumping of the chest and the badge slapping that everybody demands sometimes, well, you've seen it in 4K from this player, an individual in cup games when he's played for Chelsea, and he's been given it the big one, but he's not backing it up with at least a little bit of loyalty. I've got phone contract. We've all got phone contracts that last longer than this. Brother, you can't get a contract that's shorter than 6 months. That's shorter than a year. You're not even going to get a year out of this guy. 6 months? 6 months? Brother, pregnancy lasts longer than this. Where on earth do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going? We sacrificed Lewis Hall for this, which we should never have done. Pure foolishness of the highest order. But I've moved on. I haven't. Where are you going? So now, the only thing that I could trail back as to why the player is frustrated, apart from the fact that he thinks he's a centre-back, is he hasn't played in the last 5 games for Chelsea in the Premier League. No minutes. One time not even in the squad against Fulham, and loads of favourable fixtures in there, hasn't played a minute. That goes to Maresca now. So we go to Maresca. Do you not trust him? Evidently you don't. The midfield has been on its arse in second halves, and you haven't brought him on to solidify and, sign off the wins or the results. So you're not trusted by the manager to play these type of games. The cup games, the Conference League, you will be there. Premier League, you are not. Apart from, Bournemouth away, was it? So, okay. So now we're starting to join up the dots. We're starting to understand where the problem lies. He's not happy with his game time. I think he's had actually a decent amount, but I admit he could have been used more. He should have been at left back instead of Gusto at left back. Was it against Everton? He could have maybe played in a back three the other day instead of Disasi, but he was in midfield. So there's moments. Now, one thing I don't understand is if the manager doesn't trust him, how is he here? Manager doesn't trust player. Directors, why did you sign him? Okay, so we're back here again with the directors. I unknowingly thought this was a good purchase, but it's not going to be a good purchase if 6 months later down the line, the player is not trusted by the manager. Forget him leaving. That's his own little mind and memory, and he thinks that he can go to Dortmund and just kick on and whatever. You can't predict players being unsettled and wanting to leave your football club in 6 months. So I'm not going to blame them for that. But the manager not trusting him, that's not making sense. You're meant to be signing players for the manager to trust. So even though I may think he's decent, the manager doesn't. Maybe he doesn't rate him as highly as he needs to play him in Premier League, which means you've got to make sure that the players that you're acquiring in the summer are going to be used by the manager, not just from a profile wise, but from a technical level. They need to be trusted. They need to be able to participate in the Premier League. They need to be able to be used. And this is why when we judge that transfer window, it gets worse and worse and worse, because the more we go down the list of players, they are not trusted or relied upon by the manager as squad depth when they're needed in the Premier League, not in the Conference League where any Tom, Dick and Harry can play. I'm talking about in the Premier League where points are won and serious progress is made. Champions League qualification. So this was actually, I thought, one of our better signings, but due to the erratic nature of Sideshow Bob, we can never predict which man he's going to smash up next. He's not going to potentially be here because he wants to leave. And I don't want any player at my football club that doesn't want to be here. You are not good enough, Renato Veiga, for us to be keeping you against your will. We're not even considering really that as a fan base with Christopher and Cuckoo, let alone yourself. So the whole thing is an absolute mess, and I hope it's resolved quite quickly. I can understand why he's a bit frustrated, but to want to leave 6 months in, like I said, wild. So crazy, pure absolute madness that is taking place. It's never a quiet day. What do we do in terms of a replacement? You have Samuel Smith in the academy, which I would maybe liken to the left-sided option of an Achimpong. Someone that can play left side centre back, can play left back, very good on the ball, quite physical too. But if Cucurella gets injured, do you want to trust Samuel Smith without even having significant Chelsea minutes to his name right now? He hasn't even been registered for the Conference League. He's not played in the cup games. I wouldn't even say that's a good idea. I think we should have another left back with Cucurella. We've been linked with a few. Let's see what we do. And then have him as an extra body who can cover multiple positions in the left-sided part of the defence. Centre back, left side, left back, and get those minutes and accumulate in the Conference League, register him and see where he develops and where he goes. Because he's a very good talent. He deserves to get an opportunity. But trust, big word here, different level here. So let's move on to the tactical pad because we've got more to explain as to why certain men are trusted and certain men are not. So here we are, tactical pad, Chelsea versus Bournemouth. We're going to go through the press conference tactical briefing discussions as we talk, with what's on the pitch, because he basically made it abundantly clear that he doesn't like his fullbacks to do this. Now, I know some of you are going to hate this. Yeah, you can't do this. He's not interested. He doesn't like overlapping fullbacks is what I heard in that press conference. Now, that was some sad news to hear. I'm not going to lie, because I think this is one of the most basic and one of the best ways to help go up against a low block. We saw it actually against Morecambe. First half, we didn't really allow much support to the wingers. I said on that watch along, the wingers actually have really sometimes the most difficult role in this system because they don't get any help, they don't get any overlap, any underlap, any support. So they're constantly double or triple teamed and they can't really do anything at times unless they, really rip up 2-3 bodies. And I was very harsh on Tyreek George because he did immensely improve in the second half against Morecambe when Cucurella came on, and that's where obviously he gets his assists and he starts to have his great decision making, etc. But in the first half, a bit quiet, and maybe that's why, because there's a lack of support. So Cucurella comes on, we see it. We see these runs, we see that support, and it's massively benefiting the front line and the wingers in particular. He says he doesn't like that. So basically, now, people are freaking out because they think they're never going to see Reece James, who I'm going to just bring onto the pitch for a second. They're never going to see Reece James do that ever again, right? Do this. What we know him for, get him forward. I personally didn't freak out when I heard that because I've already come to terms with the fact that Reece James cannot be trusted to do this. Not because he's not good at it, not because technically he can't do it, but because physically I can't trust him to do it until he stays fit. We need him as a captain to stay available. So my interest in Reece James doing that role, which is physically taxing, has diminished. I just need Reece James on the pitch because I know Reece James can play other positions. It's not his best position to be in a back three. If I'm to just move things around real quick, say you push Enzo up. Let's just do this just for argument's sake. I know it's not Reece James's best position to play in a back three or to play even left side of a back three like he did against Newcastle. However, I'm going to do it because I want to keep him fit, because it's better to have Reece James on the pitch than to have Reece James bombing up the pitch for 2-3 games and then injured again. So I'm not really bothered about that. But it does concern me. It does concern me that someone, say like Malo Gusto, who I've said on these previews before, I think his best position is still doing this, that he can't do it because we're not going to play that way. He's always, as he says, he wants to keep everybody inside. He wants to keep everybody tucked in. He wants to invert. So I would ask for a bit more tactical flexibility because you've seen how it helps our wingers, especially against low blocks. You've seen that once you give them those rotations and those overloads on the flanks, that they can now combine and connect and create, find separation. That's how Felix found separation for his goal. Granted, it's Morecambe, shocking team, probably going to the National League, non-league, but still, in other games, I want to see it because it's an option and it's a way of breaking down. But anyway, so he's already come out and said that that's not happening. So that's worrying. I'm not going to lie, that's a shame. He really loves this 4-2, this 3-2 build-up structure. He's not running from it. This is what he wants to do. So let's just go back to it because it's clearly what's going to happen again. I'm just hoping that as games go on, if we're not scoring, I hope he just overlaps the fullbacks, underlaps the fullbacks, and doesn't get too strict and too, focused and fixated on his one way that he wants to start games. But we'll see how that goes. So that's one thing. The next thing is obviously Felix, because Felix was not able to start any Premier League games outside of Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton. Those are the only 3 Premier League games Felix has started. Every other Premier League appearance he's had this season has been cameo minutes off the bench, charity minutes off the bench. And he also hooked him even against Ipswich, obviously on around 50, 60 minutes. And then Nkunku stayed on the pitch, which I thought was a really odd decision considering the performance. So you're not going to get that, basically, is what I'm telling you. You're not going to get Felix and Palmer together. He said that already. Felix, Palmer, and Nkunku play the same position. I'm not going to put 2 in there at one time unless it's a relegation-stricken team that is not rated highly by him and that are really at the bottom barrel of the Premier League. Unless it's a team like that, Felix and Palmer are not starting together. That's another shame, because Felix has actually been offering something in those games that he's been given. So now we want to see against higher quality opposition, can he contribute? Can he break down the low block? Can he get the goals? Can he take the shots? Because we know, and I just want to take Madueke out for a second, because we know, let me just bring back Enzo. So much moving around, but it's all about off and on the ball, isn't it? We know that when Felix is out there, we're more likely to get some shots on goal. Palmer will take his shots, and then you have an attacker like Sancho who doesn't really take high volume of shots, but really good chance creation on that right hand side when he came on. And I don't even think that we need to be only thinking about Sancho on the left. On the right hand side for Dortmund all those years ago, creating loads of opportunities, scoring loads of goals. If he's playing really well on the right, that's another option on the right, as well as Neto Madueke. He's one of our flexible, both-sided flank wingers. But not having Palmer and Felix out there, especially when Felix has played well, it's disappointing, because it means now that we're going to have to look at, obviously, Sancho going back to the left or Neto out there. Madueke comes in, and Madueke and Neto in particular are not really consistently playing well. They're not really consistently providing the quality that's necessary to win games. So I'd like to see a bit more flexibility again in the attacking options and what we're willing to do, but he doesn't trust it defensively. Why doesn't he trust it defensively? Well, it must beg down to the question, this is uncomfortable, but on the ball, make no mistake, Enzo, absolutely fantastic. I actually think recently off the ball, he's been really good as well. Much more energetic, much more in a tackle, winning duels, getting stuck in. But what this tells me is that he must not trust the midfield completely. If he's not willing to do this, he must not trust the midfield, because if he trusted the midfield, then he wouldn't mind going a little bit more adventurous on the attack. It's all defensive that he's thinking about. It's all off the ball. He's not trusting. The question already came on the right flank. Are you willing to... Because I think if he maybe started Lavia and Caicedo, maybe you might get Palmer and Felix, but you're not going to get both. He was also asked about Palmer going to the right-hand side. And if I was to just change it, Palmer going to the right-hand side and playing as a right winger. And he basically said, listen, he's picking up the same pockets. Even if he's going to the right-hand side, he's still going to pick up these right half spaces like he was last season. You're still, just like last season, he was getting the overlap and he was basically cutting in here. And when he starts from there, he's in there anyway. So that's his answer to that. He doesn't, but he prefers Palmer centrally. So you're not going to get Palmer right wing with Felix in the 10. You're not going to get Palmer in the 10 with Felix left wing. You're not getting these two together on the football pitch. You're not. Felix could add goals to this team from that attacking midfield area, along with Palmer, as we've seen, potentially, if he could not be so unlucky hitting the post and hitting the bar and just wide to help Jackson, because that's what Nkunku was going to do. In our heads, Nkunku was going to play behind Jackson. Felix now could play behind Jackson. Palmer could play there as well. That's just more shots, more goals, potentially. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. He wants two wingers. He wants two wingers in Neto, Sancho, who worked incredibly hard in the last game that we played, or Madueke, and he wants those guys up and down the flanks working incredibly hard. And my guess is that he doesn't want Palmer doing that up and down leg work. He wants him in the 10, central, creative hub, fulcrum of the team, the brain of the team in the attacking sense, 100%. But he doesn't want Palmer doing the up and down, tracking back. He doesn't trust Felix to do the up and down, tracking back on the left wing. So those are the only 10s. In Nkunku, we already can see why he wouldn't be trusted to do the up and down defending. He can't do the pressing. Again, players that he doesn't trust or want to do high volumes of intense running up and down, he doesn't want to play anywhere else but the 10 position. And that is that. That is that. So It's a bit disappointing when I come to pick my team now, because there's absolutely no point me playing Felix from the beginning, even though I want to see him, because he's not going to play with Palmer on the pitch at the same time. So it goes back to Jackson, who needs to score his first in 4 or 5. It goes back to Palmer in the 10. The midfield is set. And then you go Sancho, and I'm hoping potentially maybe Madueke. But maybe let's just do that just for a moment and just flip them, because I just want to see Sancho on the right. It's a low block. It doesn't really matter too much because you can flip the wingers, you can swap the wingers. Neto can come and play on the right, Sancho can go and play on the left. But because it is, this might not even be a low block, I'm sure Bournemouth will play. But because I'm not getting what I want in Felix, I'd at least like to have options on the pitch to just flip and, you know, slice and dice the wingers as I want. Left, try it for 10-15 minutes Neto. If you don't like it, swap. Sancho the same. And it gives us a little bit of versatility. But it is very disappointing to know and see that he's not going to play that front line at all. It's just not going to happen, especially not against Bournemouth, who are 7th and unbeaten in 9. Like I said, it's only for relegation teams. Acheampong, finally, will he start for Tosin? He could do. Obviously, he didn't play at the weekend, so I would expect him to now start because he didn't get the opportunity to get any minutes there. But Tosin obviously got 2 goals. That long shot destabilised the first long shot, and then the second long shot really then after destabilised the block, because now people are starting to come out to him and press him, and then there's gaps opening and appear in other places. That's why you need some long-range shooters in your team. It helps defeat low blocks. People have to pay respect. People then have to move out of their position, and therefore openings appear. Doesn't mean he's going to play though. So let's see. I mean, Tosin, I still want to see Acheampong, whether it's Acheampong for Gusto and Tosin plays centre-back, or Acheampong at centre-back and Gusto plays. It doesn't really bother me too much, to be honest. So let's see. That's it really, guys. We've gone through a lot. Very interesting. A little bit disappointing, I'll be real, because it means that he's not as flexible or versatile as I was hoping he was going to be with these things. But it also means that we need to think very big about the squad balance and the squad the way we assemble the squad in the transfer window, and making sure that it mirrors with the manager, because there should be absolutely no surprises or shocks to the directors. If you've been working 72 hours a day, going through with a fine comb every single thing about this bald manager, Maresca, you should know everything about his system, what he likes, what he doesn't in terms of attacking and defensive balance, and therefore the players that you sign should be according to him and not to what you think or what you want to pressurize him into doing. He doesn't trust the young players that you've bought and assembled in some positions, which means they cannot develop at the rate they need to even make good profit from. And this is why you need balance in all metrics, in all regards, because Maresca may have told you, or he may say that he's going to play, or trust these young players in this project, but he doesn't trust all of them, and he won't play the ones that he doesn't rate. And he's made that clear. He's speaking with his actions, not necessarily with his mouth, which is moving. So that's it. Smash up the likes, subscribe. That's your Chelsea Bournemouth preview. My prediction will be 2-1 Chelsea win. Not an easy game. They've got really good defenders. They've got a really good team. They've got a lot of injuries though, and their main striker is out. So we need to take advantage of that. And let's see how it all unfolds. Like I said, smash up the likes. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys next time in a bit, people. Peace.